Good evening, everybody. This is Casper from the Tropical Weather Threat Society bringing you a special tropical update regarding the increasing threat of potential tropical cyclone 9 and the threat for Humberto there to folks in Bermuda. So we are anticipating the 11 p.m. primary advisory for potential tropical cyclone 9, and we do have it. So first off, let's take a quick look at satellite. Let's see, we can get a better satellite on that here over at Cyclonic WX. And let's run the loop here. And as we could see, we do have some persistent thunderstorm activity, but it is not coalescing into a closed low yet, and so therefore we still have a potential tropical cyclone classification on it. So as of the 11 p.m. advisory, the estimated point of potential tropical cyclone number 9 is located at 21.5 north, 76.0 west, approximately 145 miles northwest of the eastern tip of Cuba, about 145 miles south of the central Bahamas. Maximum sustained winds 35 miles an hour, currently moving northwest at 9 miles an hour, with a minimum central pressure of 1,007 millibars. There have been no changes with the watches or warnings with this advisory. There are currently a tropical storm warning in effect for the central Bahamas, including Cat Island, the Exumas, Long Island, Rum Cay, and San Salvador. A tropical storm watch is in effect for portions of the northwestern Bahamas, including Eutheria, New Providence, the Abacos, Berry Island, and Grand Bahama Island. If we go down to the hazards affecting land, the most important part of a public advisory from the National Hurricane Center, we have our wind threat here with our tropical storm watch and warnings already issued for it. Our rainfall, this is what is looking to be the potential biggest threat from PTC 9, soon to be Imelda. Eastern Cuba, 8 to 12 inches with isolated maximum totals of 16 inches possible. 4 to 8 inches expected across the entirety of the Bahamas. Hispaniola, Jamaica, and portions of central and southern Cuba, 2 to 4 inches of additional rainfall are expected. And we could definitely see some flash flood mudslides in higher terrain across the eastern Cuba, Hispaniola, and Jamaica. They do have some pretty significant mountainous terrain on those islands. And one of the most important things is what we see right here. An increasing threat of heavy rainfall from this system is forecast over the southern mid-Atlantic through coastal Georgia, which could cause flash urban and river flooding into next week. And we're going to take a look at the rainfall estimates, and we're going to kind of hope that we don't see much more increase in it, though I will say it has leveled off a little bit, but let's wait and see exactly how this all plays out because we do not have a bona fide center of circulation yet. Our storm surge 1 to 3 feet above ground level here in the areas of onshore winds for the northwestern Bahamas. So please, folks, be aware and careful with that. The surf, obviously, with the tropical cyclone in the area, please exercise caution if you are going out to the beaches. Check with your local officials first. Make sure that it is safe to get in the water, and please learn how to recognize rip currents if it is a high rip current situation. As we could see here with our experimental cone, the forecast track has shifted a little bit. It's quite a bit slower. As we could see here, it is forecast to be a hurricane here on Tuesday, but the problem is that here 24 hours later, it is a tropical storm, but it could still be offshore. And at this point, the onshore flow of the showers and thunderstorms could be significant. And the rainfall totals could also be significant. So, a growing threat here if this behaves exactly as it is forecast in the center of the cone. But please understand, there is a lot of uncertainty that is going to remain until we can at least get a center of circulation, a closed, true closed low at the surface for everything to kind of hinge on and to pinpoint on. Because right now, with Humberto's interactions with the upper level low and not having a closed center, yes, something is going to develop, but where is the question? If we take a look at the 0Z spaghetti plots, a lot of the models are now calling, as we can see, calling this to come up and then stall in this region somewhere. And that's a problem. Depending, and especially if we've got some southern shear on that, and I'll show that here a little bit later, but that could displace and tilt the vortex on this and really cause, depending on the situation, really cause like a localized area of heavy rainfall, especially if it stalls out for an extended period of time. There's going to be some serious problems if it stalls out right on the coast. Big time flooding. Let's hit the refresh on this and our key messages here from the 11 p.m. advisory. Key message number 1. The disturbance is forecast to become a tropical storm this weekend and bring tropical storm conditions to portions of the central and northwestern Bahamas, where tropical storm warnings and watches, respectively, are in effect. Rainfall associated with this system will impact eastern Cuba, Hispaniola, Jamaica, and the Bahamas through the weekend. Paragraph number 2. There is an increasing threat of heavy rainfall early next week from coastal Georgia through the Carolinas and into the southern mid-Atlantic states, which could cause flash urban and river flooding. Paragraph number 3. The system is expected to be at or near hurricane intensity when it approaches the southeast U.S. coast early next week, where there is a risk of storm surge and wind impacts. Residents in that area should monitor updates to the forecast and ensure they have their hurricane plan in place. And we don't have a lot of time for preparations, but thankfully here, the South Carolina Emergency Management has declared a state of emergency for South Carolina. This should be enough to let everybody know there in South Carolina, you need to take this, especially along the coastal regions, take this very seriously and monitor your local emergency management officials for the latest information. Sean, let me see. Have we gotten Humberto's? Let me check. I would think so. Yeah, 145. And we'll get to it. Yeah, it's forecast to go Cat 5. That's what I thought. So yeah, it's constricted its eye, but we'll get to that here. We'll sit and get to that here in just a moment. Oh, sorry, Sammy. Maybe I need to speak up. I mean, it's been a long day. Live number three today, and we've got at least three more to go tomorrow. So we're going to continue to crank them out until we are finally through with this threat, or at least understand exactly what it's going to be. And if it's not that bad, then we'll scale back a little bit. But right now, there's enough of a rainfall threat to where it does warrant multiple lives, just to be able to get everybody the updates out. So, taking a look at our discussion. Now, obviously, this just came out. I have not read this yet, so we're going to read it together. Many thanks to the crew of a NOAA P-3 Hurricane Hunter aircraft, which has been flying a surveillance mission in the disturbance this evening. Dropson data from this flight, as well as surface observations from Cuba, suggest that the system is still a trough of low pressure, and the trough axis is a little farther west than previously estimated. Maximum winds remain near 30 knots, and the pressure has dropped slightly to 1,007 millibars based on the Dropson data. The current motion is now estimated to be northwestward or 305 degrees at 8 knots. The system is expected to slow down and turn north-northwestward by Saturday morning and continue that trajectory over the weekend. Embedded in the southerly flow between a deep layer trough over the southeastern U.S. and a ridge over the west central Atlantic. The track models are in a good agreement for the first 3 days of the forecast, and the new NHC forecast has been shifted westward during that period, mainly due to the westward adjustment of the initial position. But it is also a bit slower than the previous prediction based on the latest guidance. There is significantly more uncertainty in the track forecast after day 3. But at the very least, it appears that the system will slow down considerably and perhaps even stall near the coast of South Carolina. Interestingly, the 18Z GFS and Euro solutions no longer show the system moving inland over the southeastern U.S. and have come more in line with their respective ensemble means, as well as the HCCA consensus aid and Google DeepMind mean. For this new forecast, a very slow, nearly stationary motion is shown on day 5, with perhaps some hint of the start of a northeastward motion. That said, even if the system stalls just offshore, it would still be large enough to cause wind and coastal flooding impacts along the southeastern U.S. coast, as well as heavy rainfall flooding concerns in inland areas. This is exactly what I was afraid of. We've been talking about this potential for the last couple days, and I don't like this. Global models suggest it will still take another 24 hours or so for the system to develop a well-defined circulation and organized convection to be classified as a tropical depression. After that time, strengthening is expected while the system moves over very warm waters and within a divergent upper-level environment. The NHC forecast continues to show the system reaching hurricane strength in 3-4 days, which is close to the HCCA and IVCN consensus aids. Stronger shear and possibly the beginning of interaction with a nearby frontal boundary could cause some weakening by day 5. If we take a look at the most recent, we're still at 24 hours for our intensity for it to become a true tropical cyclone, and 36 hours for it to receive the name of a melda. At that point, anticipated for it to be a Category 1 hurricane in 72 hours, minimal at 75 miles an hour. Maintain that intensity of 75 miles an hour through the 4-day period of 96 hours, and then slowly weakening here at day 5 back down to 65 miles an hour. Oh, thank you, Martha. I really appreciate that. And we certainly try to keep people informed, and just we want everybody to be safe. That's all it really comes down to. I mean, we've been there before. We know what it feels like, and you lose everything. You get humbled real quick, and if we've done it before, so like we know good and well that we're able to help people by just communicating the official information. That's it. We just go through the data, we'll go over it all together, and then always follow the official sources. That's it. So this is forecast from the Weather Prediction Center for an international forecast for the folks out here in the Bahamas. And as we could see, they're going to get quite a bit of rain. We do have this maxima here on the eastern tip of Cuba with an isolated up to 16 inches of rain in this small area. That's not good. That's going to cause significant issues for those folks down there, and all throughout. You're looking at isolated totals of 8+ inches through these orange areas, and that's. I really don't care where you live. You get 8+ inches of rain in 48-72 hour period, you're going to have some kind of impact. No question about it. Now, it is kind of ironic, and I showed this at our 6 p.m. live, and I do want to kind of go over this again. The last time that we were talking about Imelda back in 2019, this was the result. It was nothing more than a tropical storm. So you don't need a big time system to cause big time flooding problems from a tropical cyclone. The last time that we were dealing with just tropical storm Imelda, this is going to be a hurricane, so it deserves the respect of a tropical cyclone. 44.29 inches of rain was the maximum value that was recorded. And a very, it was kind of isolated, but to these folks here, this was an extraordinary. What I have here are the 0Z Weather Prediction Center official forecast out 7 days on the left-hand side. And I have the NOAA blend of models on the right-hand side. This is going to be the 0Z as well. So if we compare them and take a look, they're similar. The Weather Prediction Center's official forecast is a little bit higher, especially if we get up towards, here into the Wilmington, North Carolina area, potentially 7 inches of rain. Getting down towards Myrtle Beach at 7.4, back up inland towards Florence, 5.5 inches. Getting down heavy rains associated, especially along the coast, and say 100 miles inland on this onshore flow. There's going to be some type of rain band. That's going to lead to training thunderstorms over the same area over and over again. And some of those storms may also contain tornadoes. So it's not going to be a pretty scene. Now, what I have here, and this might be small for some people, so I'll do the best that I can to explain it. And I probably, let me see here. give me 1 second. I'm gonna flip up a graphic here. It's only giving me that. I want to try to pull the 18Z euro. There we go. I can at least get 90 hours out of it. And I don't think that's going to be enough. No, not really. So, as you can see, we've got an approaching rain event, and this is the rainfall over the next 90 hours. And as you could see, I'm going to run this forward, and the GFS also has a great amount of rain. The question is going to become, how close does the center of the circular or the surface low get to the coast? Now, I'm going to show you here in a few moments, as soon as we go through the updated particulars of Humberto, that some of the hurricane specific models are showing a quite of a different solution, though a stall is forecast to occur, but maybe just a little bit further west than we care to see, and dumping quite a bit of rain into the Carolinas. So now let's take a look at our tropical storm force wind speed probabilities. We are definitely going to, I can guarantee you, we're going to get tropical storm watches that are probably going to extend from all the way up here into coastal regions of North Carolina near Morehead City, all the way down. I wouldn't be surprised if, depending on exactly where this is located, even if we get parts of coastal Georgia, even getting into northeastern parts of Florida as well. It could be possible depending on how this organizes. Just looking at the percentages, we're getting up close to about the 30% range along the coastal regions right here, and then also along the Georgia region. But then now we're starting to get that 40 to 50% color starting to creep along up here along the coast as well. And if we get into that 40-50, you can almost guarantee you're going to end up with tropical storm watches, if not tropical storm warnings on approach. That those percentages are too high not to pull the trigger on that. Our most likely arrival time of winds, let's hit the refresh on that. We are looking at, for the central Bahamas, getting into Sunday overnight, Saturday night, into the early hours of Sunday morning. Then progressing northward through the day and reaching into the Bahamas here, getting into, I'd say, midday on Sunday, and clearing the, definitely impacting all of the islands. Your weather would be deteriorating, going downhill pretty much all day on Sunday. We've got the potential for that coastal wind going northward up the Florida Peninsula here, starting late evening on Sunday into around the Miami-Dade region, if it is going to occur, and then creeping northward overnight into Monday morning, being around the just south of the Cape Canaveral area here on Monday at 8 a.m., continuing northward, and then by Monday night, Tuesday morning, in those overnight hours, as we can see here, that would be when the most likely arrival time of tropical storm force winds currently, as forecast, would be potentially impacting the coastal regions. So you're looking at potentially an onset of these winds during the overnight hours. So please, folks, um, you know, if you end up under a tropical storm warning or something like that, and you're along those coastal regions, please make preparations. Get the you know make sure you tie up all the loose things outside, nothing to blow around and stuff like that. Uh-oh. I think we might. I wonder if an eye wall replacement cycle might be underway. It did contract quite a bit. So real now we're gonna jump over to Humberto here real fast. Absolute monster storm, no doubt about it. It has been on an explosive intensification cycle throughout the entire day today. It has decided that it wanted to go crazy. Its location currently is 22.1 north, 58.7 west, approximately 390 miles northeast of the northern Leeward Islands. Maximum sustained winds are now up to 145 miles an hour. Present movement is west or 265 degrees at 7 miles an hour. So it has picked up a little bit of forward speed, but at the same time, it is very, very slowly losing a little bit of latitude. 265 degrees is just a little hair south of due west. So over a period of time, it's going to lose maybe a tenth, a couple tenths of, maybe even getting down into the 21s for its latitude there before it starts to make its turn. There are currently no coastal watches or warnings in effect, and I use that word currently. Hazards affecting land, obviously, with a 145 mile an hour Category 4 hurricane sitting out there, there is going to be a lot of churned up water. We will take a look at the estimated wave height model here in just a little bit, but folks, there's going to be two tropical systems out here. Please, stay out of the water, if you would, please. We would certainly appreciate that. Minimum central pressure of 940 millibars. This thing has bombed pressure out all day long. It is dropping like a rock. Let's take a look at our most recent cone. We've still got Bermuda in the cone, and it is going to be in quite close proximity. And as you can see, it is going to maintain that major hurricane status all the way up to the point to where, nope, this is still the 5. Where are we at? That's still the 5. Do we not have the graphics on that yet? There's no way. We do not have the graphics on that yet. Why? I know that had to change. We've got the discussion. We've got the forecast advisory. But we don't have the graphic. Let's try this. No, that's still the 5. Okay, what about the interactive? Still the 5. Huh. NHC, what's going on? Yes, Sean, it is forecast to be a 5. Let's see. Can we get an 11 out of this? Oh, all these graphics are still the 5. Huh. Let me see if I can pull it up on my phone. Give me 1 second here, folks. Refresh that. No, I got the 5 here as well. Huh. Alright, and I haven't even received the email regarding, uh, so we've got the text, but we don't have the graphics yet. Alright, I will keep a very close watch on that, and when I do get the email, we will then um, go grab the graphic for the forecast track. So now again, I haven't read this yet, so I'm just going to go ahead and read this. I can definitely see ERC there. We'll check University of Wisconsin as well, see what's going on. All right. Humberto has continued to intensify rapidly this evening. The eye temperature has increased to 15 degrees Celsius, and the eye wall white ring negative 73 degrees Celsius is nearly closed. At 2137 UTC, WSFM1 high-res microwave pass indicated that a concentric ring was developing about 65 nautical miles from the eye. The initial intensity is raised to 125 knots and is close to the University of Wisconsin Advanced Dorvac of T6.4 and above the constrained subjective Dorvac intensity estimates from TAFB and SAB. All intensity contributions, low shear, warm waters, and ample mid level moisture appear conducive for Humberto to intensify rapidly during the next 12 to 24 hours. DTOP guidance indicates a high probability of rapid intensification during the next 12 to 24 hours, and the latest official intensity forecast follows suit, bringing Humberto to a peak intensity of 140 knots Saturday night. By the 36-hour period, however, inner core fluctuations as a result of eye wall replacement cycles are possible, and it's difficult to forecast the exact timing. It is worth mentioning, however, that the University of Wisconsin's MPERC microwave-based probability of eye wall replacement cycle statistical model is predicting a 61% of onset by mid next week. Increasing vertical shear spreading over Humberto should be induce gradual weakening trend. At the same time, while it passes west of Bermuda, a significant expansion in the surface wind field will likely occur. The NHC intensity forecast is just above the previous forecast through the 36-hour period, and closely follows the blend of the HCCA consensus and the HAVS HWRF HMON hurricane models. Oof. Humberto is likely taken a trachoidal jog to the left of the track this evening, likely due to the rapid intensification event. The initial motion is estimated to be slightly south of due west or 265 degrees at 6 knots. Humberto is expected to move slowly towards the west or west-northwest during the next day or so, in the easterly steering flow provided by the mid-tropospheric high pressure located to the north of the cyclone and just east of Bermuda. Around the 48-hour period or Sunday evening, a northwestward turn with some reduction in forward speed is forecast, while the above-mentioned high pressure weakens and shifts eastward. By day 4, Humberto should commence a rather abrupt turn northward and northeastward in response to a major shortwave upper-level trough amplifying and moving out of northeastern Canada and into the northwestern Atlantic. The official track forecast is located just to the left of the previous advisory, primarily due to the initial motion left of track, and lies between the HCCA corrected consensus and the Google DeepMind ensemble model. NOAA buoy 41044 located about 38 nautical miles southwest of the center, has reported falling pressures, sustained tropical storm force winds gust just below hurricane force, and 17-foot seas. And it is forecast now to become a Category 5 hurricane. They did mention the University of Wisconsin stuff here, so let's take a look. DTOP still keeps it at its rapid. That may need to be updated. Let's go back and take a look here. So they put it at 125 knots, 122, 125. We could certainly agree with that. 941. The MPERC, even though it was mentioned, it is 3 to 6 hours old here with that yellow color. Taking a look at it on satellite with with the clouds filling in here and knowing how it was, the center of circulation, what looked like it was contracting, there may be an onset of trying to attempt an eye wall replacement cycle. It is possible. Let's take a look, see if we can spot anything here. No, we would need a microwave pass. So let's see what we can get here. Nope, just missed it. Just missed it. Polar orbiting satellite. Just missed it. That's sad. Just missed it. And they still have the 5. Where in? NHC. Come on, guys. We gotta do better here. We gotta get these graphics. Not yet. That's weird. So we're not going to have, obviously we're not going to have an updated wind graphic. This is for the 8 p.m. And as you can see, for the tropical storm force winds for Bermuda, 60 to 70%, you're going to get watches and warnings with those type of probabilities. There's no doubt about it. The damaging 50 knot or 58 mile an hour winds, you're still rolling pretty close to that 30 to 40%. You're getting there. You're probably closer to 30% than you are to the 20 for the light green color that you're in, but you're not too far off from that 30 to 40% range. So maybe into the high 20s. We could take a look at the wind speed probabilities right now. 22% for the 50 knot winds, and then 57 for tropical storm force winds. You would definitely get tropical storm watches with that, no doubt about it. Aircraft reconnaissance, as we could see, they did finish some missions off earlier today. And this drops on here, the NOAA P3. This is the one that was mentioned in the discussion. Went right through this area and was able to sample everything that was going on along this line here. And then we had the observations along the coast of Cuba. And that's what the National Hurricane Center was able to kind of really pinpoint exactly where this is trying to coalesce. And as you can see, the 38 drop-ons, and that's a long flight. It would have probably, I would have enjoyed it, that's for certain. So now what we're going to do is take a look at the ensembles. And the reason that I still have the 12Z Euro up here is to show everybody that we had quite a few of these ensembles that were getting into the coastal parts of Carolina, getting inland and making landfall. And I've got this out 6 days at this point to compare with what we see with the 18Z euro. And this only goes out 6 days, but there's just a glaring difference here. And that is, if we again, look at the amount of ensemble members that we have making landfall and coming inland here into the Carolinas. Now, look what happens when we pull up the 18Z. We don't have anywhere near as many of those members. That is a glaring difference right from right from the start. Some of them may get a little uncomfortably close here along the east coast of Florida. So don't let your guard down just yet, guys. Please. Um, yes, it's going to be on a northern track, but if you're coastal and live into the coastal communities there in Florida, just don't let your guard down just yet, just in case that it wants to get just a little bit uncomfortably close, get some of that squally weather, and thunderstorms rotating in and around on the northern side. That doesn't sound like a fun day. So just please keep an eye on this. The one thing that I also want to point out is there is quite a bit of uncertainty in the models as to where this stalls. I mean, we could stall it even out here over the Bahamas, and then it tries to pull out. That's one thing that's showing up here is how fast is this going to get north? And right now, the official National Hurricane Center, obviously, these are going to be an outlier, but something along this line up here could be plausible. It could be to where it comes up and it stalls out like that and then maybe does something along those lines. Um, so it's a trend that we'll have to continue to watch. Taking it and comparing that to the 18Z GEFS ensembles, we can see we don't have a lot of these ensemble members making landfall anymore. And what we do see is if it does, maybe a little bit more towards the Charleston, Savannah area. And that's kind of in some of the similar thinking of what halves was. And this goes out, let's see, we'll go out 6 days here. And as you can see, there's a lot of these stalling this right off the coastline. And that is a potentially terrible setup depending on how close this comes. The 18Z Euro AI, as you can see, it has quite a few of its members wanting to pull it out this way potentially if it's real slow, stalling somewhere along this line, and just nowhere near as many landfalls as far as the ensemble members are concerned than what we've had previously. So we're kind of in a downward trend where the models are concerned as far as direct landfall. We hit the refresh on Google DeepMind and we've got the 18Z DeepMind. And what we are going to do is we are going to run this forward just a little bit. We've got it out, let's see, let's go out 60 hours right there. And we are then going to highlight these, and wow, look at that. I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that Humberto is a lot stronger than what the models had previously been calling for. I think that also has a lot to do with it because its influence is going to be even stronger than what some of the models had been calling for before. And this is a little bit slower than what had been previously forecasted, which is allowing Umberto to close the distance and be able to exert its influence. And yeah, that's significant. I really hope this doesn't decide to just sit out here real close to the coast and stall. That's really what I'm hoping for. Um, I am going to pull up Umberto's stuff here as well. Let's see. 32 of those ensemble members calling for a category 4, and it already is. This model initiated. I mean, we're going to have to wait on the models to catch up for the rapid. Uh, who knows where this thing is going to bottom out, honestly. The maximum current, maximum potential intensity for the area in which it's located in is 155 knots, and it's currently at 125 knots. That should say 125. This needs to update. So as soon as this updates, that'll show. But 155 knots. That's 175 miles an hour, folks. That's not that's nothing to sneeze at. That's yeah. All right, from Dr. Berg here, Dr. Tomer Berg's website. We've got the super ensembles, and yes, it says Invest 94L. Hold on. Oh, we got to go back to his website there. Potential tropical cyclone 9, still registering as Invest 94L. This is a super ensemble of the European, UK Met, GEFS, and the Canadian models all put together. Now, this is off of the 12Z. We just looked at what a lot of the 18Z was calling for. Watch this. Yes, there was some landfall, but look at that slower camp. And this is kind of what, and notice how the majority of them, even at the 12Z, were kind of still stalling it, maybe doing a little loop right here, and then, eventually cutting off. We've seen what some of the 18Zs were calling for, and this rapid advance is not necessarily what we're looking at. Now, the majority of the ensemble and the probabilities here where they split into these two camps, the models are looking at maybe more of the, lower solution than actually making landfall there directly. And that would be great, but we just don't want it to get too close. Now, what I've got here is the HAVS A and B models, and I've flipped this over to the simulated radar to really highlight the potential rainfall threat as to what we're looking at. Now, as we run this forward, as you can see, quite a bit of shower and thunderstorm activity for our friends down here into the Bahamas. And now we start to get a little bit of vorticity and some circulation starting to develop, starting to get some banding. Here comes some of that rainfall activity into parts of eastern peninsula of Florida, here into the coastal regions, as you can see here, getting into this region. A lot of this squally weather is going to be rotating in as this is starting to consolidate. As we get 48 hours moving across the state, rushing through, and even folks here on the West Coast, you're probably going to see Maybe a little bit of banding, roll through. Then the dry air is going to take back over. As we continue, as this consolidates, as you can see, we don't have a lot really. It's confined to the coastal regions there along the Florida East Coast. But now here comes that rain for the Carolinas and basically a lot of the southeastern U.S. here. Take a look, folks. This is just hour after hour after hour. This one makes landfall into the coastal Georgia region, but even if it does, the biggest impacts are going to be over here into parts of South Carolina because watch this steady training of rain. This is the part that concerns me. With a stalled out system, we might see rainfall totals that show 5, 8 inches, 10 inches, whatever, but I've gone out 126 hours, and here the storm is on the coast, raining in that almost exact same spot, starting at what, 90 hours? And by the time that I get to 126, it is still raining a great deal here over portions of coastal Carolina. That's the problem. Now, it's too early to tell exactly where these types of rain bands are going to set up, but that's the question. Where do these rain bands set up? Because they're going to set up somewhere. If we compare halves A to halves B and we run this forward, as we could see, we do have some squally weather, shower and thunderstorm activity for parts of Florida. Now, and that's probably a little bit of a sea breeze activity there associated with a rain band and the energy on the west coast of Florida. But now, look what happens. As we get this closer and closer, look at this rain. And now it stalls. And now, I mean, it makes landfall in and around the Charleston, Savannah area. But then look at this rain. Even well away from it, way out here into North Carolina, running through central East North Carolina. Look at that rain band. And the problem is where this thing stalls and that rain bands, where those rain bands are set up, it's going to train over the same location over and over and over again. And that's what I'm afraid of. And then on top of it, if something like this with halves A or halves B were to materialize, as you could see, there's going to be a lot of remnant moisture left over, and it's going to rain for an extended period of time, heavy in places. And just looking at this particular last frame at 126, that's in an area that got really, really impacted by Helene last year. And we don't want to see anything like that. We really don't. Comparing that with the 18ZH wharf, again, we've got a tremendous amount of rain for our friends down here into the Bahamas. Please be safe, folks. And then take a look at the rain that is going to then fall in somewhere in this area. It's just it's persistent. The H wharf keeps it offshore, and ideally that's not so bad, because if you notice here at 96 hours, then by 120 it is starting to move quite a bit. And that's the thing. It needs to continue to move. So this way those rain bands don't set up over the same exact spot. Let's compare it with the HMON and show that these rains, again, this to me is the biggest threat from this particular system. I do not see this becoming a major hurricane, but the one thing that I do see is the rainfall threat. And as you can see, it's just depending on how this acts, this would be persistent, heavy rainfall. And that would be terrible. Now, what we're showing here, as far as the models are concerned, please understand, folks, there is not a bona fide closed low yet. Okay? There's not. Now, let's take a look at a little bit of verification. This is the TVCN consensus model. And as we could see with the trends, a lot of them, the earlier runs had it coming in, as you could tell with the lighter colors. The as you get darker or newer and newer runs, as you could see through the scale right here, and the most recent run wants to stall it out and then draw it out and put a Z on it. Uh, some of the recent runs prior to that stalled it out somewhere into this region and now has shifted. We're seeing that 96-hour mark shift back over this way with the consensus. So a dramatic shift has occurred from one run to another here. And we are hoping that that trend continues to occur and or at least sticks far enough away from the coastline to where we don't have much of a problem. The IVCN, the one that was mentioned in the discussion, minimal cat 1 for intensity. The HCCA, as we could see here, the consensus wants to draw it up like this, maybe a little bit further to the west than what it had been calling for, and then cuts it over like this, potentially cutting it off and bringing it back like that. One thing that I will point out is some of its forecast track in the early parts were not verifying correctly. But in the most recent runs, they've been pretty close. So the HCCA is performing quite well with its at least early stage of track prediction. Taking a look at the intensity models, maybe getting it up right into the category 1, 65 knots, 75 miles an hour, not necessarily reaching the 70 mark, somewhere in there, maybe 75, 80 miles an hour. Let's see, let's flip over to the H wharf. As we could see with the H wharf has drifted quite a bit to the west, but then in response is also a little bit slower, and that allows Humberto to catch up. Humberto being quite a bit stronger than what was previously forecast, and then ends up stalling out as the steering currents collapse, and then moving out off to the east. Again, H Wharf wants to bring it up to a category 1, maybe giving it some strength as it moves out further away from the coast. That remains to be seen. As you can see with a lot of the other ones with a landfall potential, it lost its intensity. If it stays out over the open water, it may not lose its intensity. It never had land interaction. The HMON, as we could see, still favors a landfall, but has been shifting further and further down the South Carolina coast and is now getting down towards the Charleston area, and that would be a strong tropical storm at this point, maybe not even a category 1 hurricane. Comparing that with the HAVS A, this is something that is quite concerning. I do hope that this particular feature changes. And as you could see from run to run, it's been bouncing all over the place with different solutions here and there. really hasn't verified very well as far as the track is concerned. It's all over the place, but then again, that's kind of expected when you don't have a true closed low. And again, stalls it off the coast, halves A, brings it up to approximately 80 miles an hour, and then interacts with the coastal regions, but never really loses its intensity as it is beginning to pull away. Does weaken, but doesn't completely lose out. Halves B, as we could see, this still favors the landfall scenario in and around the Charleston Savannah region and brings it to a minimal Category 1 hurricane. The TC COAMs for the last two runs is favored a little bit more towards the other solution of bringing it up, stalling it out. This, if this were to verify, this wouldn't be as bad because you're not going to get the down shear, a lot of that really, really heavy, kind of close to the core down shear wind or and thunderstorm activity over here, just north of the center. This may be far enough to the south and far enough to the east to where yes, you'd get some rain, but maybe not, ridiculous amounts of rain. That would be helpful. Um, that really would. Now, I've got a few other models that I normally go through at the 6 p.m. I'm not going to go through those tonight because those are global models. We did go over those at the 6. Those really haven't changed that much as far as the dry air and our potential. Maybe we can show our potential seeds. Let's see here. Are you gonna give it? Are you gonna put it up? Or there we go. Let's see. We'll knock that out. These are our 18Z 850 millibar vorticities. Both of them are in pretty decent agreement as far as location, getting out 54 hours. The GFS here on the left is a little bit stronger than the Euro on the right. And as you can see, Humberto finally catches. The GFS does have Humberto a little bit quicker compared to what the Euro does. But nonetheless, there ends up being some significant shear that absolutely shreds what would be Imelda out here. That's interesting. Just absolutely obliterates it. But the 18Z Euro only goes out 144 hours. All right, everybody. That's about all that we've got here this evening, tonight. I will be back live again tomorrow for the 11 a.m. advisory tomorrow morning. I just want to check, see if we ever got that graphic. They never put up the 11 p.m. graphic. That's absolutely amazing. Wow. Unbelievable. I'll check every. We have nothing. Huh. No 11 p.m. graphic whatsoever. No track. Huh. Well, we'll find out. Thankfully, Humberto does not have current watches or warnings, so we'll figure out what the track is come tomorrow morning. We will be back live here at 11 a.m. Eastern, maybe 10:45. Yeah, we'll go 10:45. So, oh, excuse me. Oh no, actually, we will do 11. So this way I'll have the opportunity to at least refresh the things and read up on some of the information before we do go live. So, with that, I thank you all for joining us here tonight. Again, we will be back live tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central on Facebook and YouTube. So, please feel free to join us then. We will also be live at 6 p.m. tomorrow evening and again at 10:45, 11 p.m. tomorrow night. So, we're going to make sure that we kind of stay in tune with everything that's going on. And if we see the threat level of a potential impact or a significant rainfall event begin to reduce for U.S. interests here, then we will come back on the live stream coverage and just go back to our normal once a day. But right now, with just the signals that we're looking at, it's best to keep people informed. Stay weather aware, folks. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow morning. Have a good night, everybody.